Hey everyone, welcome to the 383rd episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by patron Ben Steer. Thanks, Ben, at the high tier. We appreciate you.
Shout out to Ben Steer at the high tier.
I'm Oren Kaplan.
And I'm Matt Enlow. Today we've got Bonnie Dennison and Allison Barton on the show. They are a directing duo.
They're also known as Bonnie and Allison.
Bonnie and Allison.
And Bonabart.
And Bonabart. Lots of names. All of them represent two great directors. We got to know them as commercial directors, but they also do a fair amount of screenwriting, but we mostly talk about commercial directing with them.
Yeah, they did also just move to, one of them moved to LA, one of them moved to Austin. They're going west, and we always like to see other people make the same mistakes that we have. I guess you moved from Sacramento, so you went south. Yeah, no, but Bonnie and Allison, it was really fun talking to them. They have like such a cool brand. We talk a lot about how they came up with it and I don't even want to spoil it because it was such a good twist in the interview of what they do on set and like how they stand out on set as a duo. You know, I'm on the same roster as them. That's how I kind of know about them. I don't know. Like, I know obviously we've had this podcast for like 28 years or however long it's been where we talk to other filmmakers. I think if you take one thing away from this podcast, it's that you should talk to other filmmakers. You learn a lot and it's fun. And even if you're just trying to work on your own ideas, it's just so helpful to talk to other film people about them. I'm glad that we got them on the podcast.
Yeah, really cool. Learned a lot. And I think we should just hop into it as soon as we mention our Patreon, which is the place where you can throw us a couple bucks if you want to help support the show. Our costs continue to grow.
Matt keeps parking the official podcast car in places where there's street cleaning. We have thousands of dollars of parking tickets that we have to cover.
Yeah. Why does a podcast have a car? Listen, we don't want to bore you with the details.
If you want to find out, join our Patreon. I'm just kidding. Yeah, patreon.com/justshootitpod. We really appreciate anything you can give. It just keeps fueling the medium-paced tonal voices that we give you once a week.
The dulcet tones of Enlow and Kaplan.
When you run out of your funny podcasts, you get to listen to us.
Enough sloppy bits. Let's get into the good stuff with Bonnie and Allison.
Hey, we're here with Bonnie and Allison, the directing duo that I'm constantly competing against.
Hi.
No, you're our nemesis.
I think I lost a job to you like many years ago.
Ooh.
Oh,
Do you
really?
remember which job?
Yeah, the Mindy Kaling Walmart job.
Oh, yeah.
It was a weird
he was
situation.
Mad about that. Yeah. That's episode 252 if you want.
Yeah.
And you were like, who the hell are these girls? Probably. But guess what? Flash forward to like last week, you beat us out for a job, and I'm still mad about it.
Allison was super salty about that one.
It's funny because I am like always like, who am I up against? And that job specifically was weird because client had asked two different companies to put up two different directors. So it was like a quadruple bid.
That's so
And
weird
then-
that they wanted within that company.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like
And for
unhealthy.
listeners at home, that's relatively uncommon that like one company is pitching more than one director. They kind of normally just back one entity, whether that's a duo or just a single director, and that's that. So they're not competing against themselves. That feels like a little bit of a conflict of interest, really.
Yeah. And they usually
bit.
don't do that unless, I mean, our friends at Sawhorse do that all the time. They'll get the job, but the client will want to see like multiple directors.
Multiple reels,
so they'll
yeah.
have multiple directors.
Oh.
Or when I've done stuff for Paramount, they'll pitch a few directors and we all have to write.
I guess what I'm describing is like the more quote unquote traditional model is a single house and a single director. Yeah, I think they're especially kind of in like the digital realm. There's a lot of like, oh, we're just going to hire a company and then we'll sort out who is directing it eventually. But I guess I thought that our class was kind of
Well, they don't do that.
Typically do.
That's not common.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they warned us. They basically were like, just so you know, you're going against someone.
It's gonna be a little weird.
Yeah, and we were like, cool, let's do it.
Yeah, let's get weird. Sure.
Yeah. Well, so that was the first job I actually pitched with art class on. And when I found out that I was pitching against someone else at art class, I was, so they have treatment designers on staff. So you work with them and, I assume most directors write their own treatments, but these people like help you do the layout and make them look pretty. And sometimes they'll pull images for you. And so I was like, wait, so is my treatment designer also designing the other person's treatment? Like, I was like, are they using the same images that I'm using? Like, I started kind of getting a little weird about it.
Us too.
Yeah, we had the same question.
Yeah, and they're like, there are a couple images that you both selected. And
interesting.
I was like, oh, the guy with the hair.
Did you
that
search
looks like
shot
his
deck for dog?
What? I wrote canine. Yeah, no, I mean, I say this on the podcast all the time, but shot deck I love, but my main place is Source Creative. It's like where I get all of my stuff.
Do you pull a lot of your own images?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Interesting.
What about you two?
In the beginning, we let someone else do the image pull, and we just did all the written and noted it and stuff, and they did the layout. But recently, we've switched it up.
Yeah, recently, I think it just helps. It takes a lot less work to just design it and pull yourself. At least that's what I'm finding. If we have the time, we'll do everything ourselves, including the layout, because it's like the noting of images and trying to like hone in on what your vision is in your head and get them to pull the correct image. Yeah, it's tough sometimes. But I don't know. Sometimes we just don't have the time.
On a practical level, though, as a duo, how does noting anything work, right? Like, do you group up beforehand and like do your own separate passes and then cross-reference? Or how does that work? And how do you deal with a conflicting note, especially early in the process?
For like a treatment?
Yeah.
Usually Allison will take lead of treatment notes because she's got a better eye for that, for sure. Like I'll look at a treatment, the first pass will be like, looks great to me. Let's go. Let's send this puppy through. And Allison will do a pass.
You're like,
and she'll be
that's an Amazon receipt, Bonnie.
Exactly. Like, wow, whatever. And she'll do a pass and she'll be like, well, no, this margin is weird. And like, can we do a full bleed? And she'll have great ideas. I'm like, yeah, definitely what she said. So we've learned at this point, like ideally, if she's free as well, she'll do the treatment notes and I'll do a closer pass for like, copy editing and stuff and try to pull my weight in that department because I just don't have as keen an eye for layout and things like that.
Bonnie's really good at like jokes and lines. Like if we're in a pitch like meeting, she'll be the one just riffing and like firing out one-liners that you're like, holy shit, how'd she just think of that? So we kind of just focus on each other's strengths, and it's different actually on set the way we work, because we'll prep everything so heavily together that once we get to set, it's like we share a brain. So we can divvy up and one person can be with, wardrobe while the other person can be with camera. And we're not precious about like the notes the person with the DP is giving or whatever. Like we trust each other implicitly. So, but a conflicting note, yeah, I mean, we just been working together for like 10 years. So we're not that precious, right, Vons?
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, and when it does, we're just pretty blunt with each other. We kind of duke it out, but it's never it's never contentious. Yeah, it's always like at some point someone's like, either I don't care or just realizes that the other person's right and we convince them. But it's pretty egoless.
I don't care.
Is there? I mean, look,
for some stuff.
How nice to be able to say "I don't care" to a directing partner, because that's maybe the safest person you can say that to. we can't, like, a wardrobe person is like the light blue or the sky blue, and you're like the sky blue.
Yeah, no, the way to say I don't care in that scenario is you say, I really trust your opinion on this.
Yeah. And I guess that's what I mean. Like, if one of us has a very strong feeling about it, and, the other one will be like, oh, yeah, if you've got something in your brain that I'm not seeing right now, run with it, is what I don't care really means.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
In commercials, too, though, you're prepping so much, like you said. Like, I have a shoot tomorrow, and I've been so stressed the last 10 days about it. But now, tonight, I'm not stressed at all, just because we've literally talked about every single detail, like every single piece of wardrobe, every single camera angle, every single stunt
I sing
line
Oren
of
to
VO.
sleep after podcasts too. That's part of it.
Yeah. He's got a horrible singing voice.
Yeah.
But it's nice. But if you prep everything, we joke about how you don't even need to be on set. If you've prepped everything properly. So I imagine if you're a duo, at some point it's such an advantage to be like, okay, we know the plan, I know the plan, you go do this part, and I'll go figure out the fitting, or I'll go rewrite the script, or I'll go, fix this thing while you're doing the thing that we already planned out. So
it's so nice. Yeah.
I was sorry before we move past that, because I feel like the decision-making process is really clear to me in pre-pro, right? But when you're on set, and there are maybe those tiny discrepancies where like you're under a pressure cooker, is it different? Or is it still like, hold on, we just need a second to quote unquote duke it out? Or is it just, has it literally never happened that like you disagreed by the time you got to set?
No, we disagree. Probably once every shoot, we have a little disagreement. The last time was, I'm not going to say who
We're
was.
eating chicken for lunch. Is it true you guys split a meal if you're co-directing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
DGA rules are
they're
weird.
budgeted for one meal, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
No, but we got in a little tiff because my feelings got hurt because the celebrity we were shooting with was kind of mean to me. The celebrity was nice to Bonnie and mean to me, and I was just like, what the hell? I would literally pitch a joke. I would pitch a joke, and then Bonnie would say it louder, and he'd be like, oh yeah, that one.
That's how most directors ended up directing, right?
They said it louder.
Yeah.
Just the loudest voice in the room.
Yeah.
Usually there's one, I'd say per shoot, there's one thing that we disagree on. Sometimes it could be something like a production design element or something that obviously, like you said, is a little different in person. And I think what will actually usually happen is there'll be a mini dramatic moment between the two of us that no one else could perceive. Where he says something. Yeah, it's just a little thumb wrestle, or one of us says something in a tone that the other one, to everyone else, it's like a dog whistle. Everyone else will just be like, that's normal. But to us, we're like, oh, she's pissed. But then we really squash it very quickly and move on, because we usually see the other person's point of view. Yeah, if we are on different pages pretty soon.
I think we've asked duos this question a lot, like how do you deal with conflict on set? But I've kind of been thinking that, like we just said, by the time you get to set, it's not, the conflicts aren't big anymore, especially in the commercial world. I've had shoots where the writer and and I've just met them on that job, or an agency person or a client, and then we're just totally in sync with each other. Or they're like, wait, what if we tried doing it in reverse? And you're like, yeah, that is cool. I think that conflict really comes from probably in narrative stuff where each detail isn't as pre-planned out,
Yeah, the amount of planning you get for a 30-second spot relative to a 90, 100, 3-hour movie, whatever it is, it's kind of apples and oranges in a certain sense,
Yeah. Or if it's a tonal thing.
I do have the sense that a lot of the jobs that we've had and maybe this is because we're a duo and people know we can handle more, we do get chonkers, really big, a couple months ago we filmed 20 commercials in a day.
That's nothing. I could do 40.
That is a chunker. That's crazy.
You don't want it.
Awesome.
You don't want it. Like we actually were so proud of ourselves at the end, but like I do feel like some of it, any conflict that we have, is just because we don't always get the luxury of like more than 3 takes on like I don't know, a lot of the shoots that we're doing. Like maybe that's everyone. Maybe I'm naive to think it's just us, but
no, but that's fair. If like it's easy to be like, we'll both have a take, but if you two were warm up and you only have one left, then it's decision time, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm excited for the day where we get to film 1 or 2 30 seconds like and that's the only thing we're shooting. Yeah. I'm excited for that.
Can we talk about how you guys became a duo? I mean, it's not you started out writing, right? And then kind of became a directing duo. Can you give us the Cliff's Notes on that and why you did it? And if you direct everything together or if it's just like the commercial career? Can you give us a little rundown?
All right. What year is it? Okay. So we met, was it 10 years ago now? A long time ago. Yeah. So we met when our boyfriends at the time introduced us. And we were both actors. And so they're like, oh, they're going to love each other. And we're like, okay, we'll see. I don't know if that's not really like traditionally true. There's a lot of competition in the industry, all that. So anyway, we went on a double date and we like super hit it off. We were just like riffing the whole double date and our boyfriends were like, but it was great. Stop it. Yeah. And then we kind of like friend dated for a bit, like because, does she like me as much as I like her? And we ran like a 5K together. But I was not a runner and Allison's like a track athlete. So that was like a lot for me. But fun for her, I guess. I didn't know how long 5 kilometers was. And so that was how it started.
She didn't know that until like years later. Like she just ran a marathon last year and she was like, by the way, how far is 5K? I was like, Bonnie, like
wait, but you were like, okay, 5K and you just kind of forgot and then you worked your way up to a marathon, right? Or no?
No, she knew it was less. Yeah.
But I just never cared to Google or figure out how long 5K was. I just started running. And then...
You've been training multiple 5Ks at the point by the time you're doing a marathon.
Yeah, and I only ran a marathon last year because of Allison's like positive influence on me over the last 10 years. That never would have happened otherwise.
So after you're running, you become friends.
We become friends.
You finish the 5K. You say, that was a great race. Should we direct together?
Exactly. We jumped right to that. No, we were actors. That was it. And this is the time sort of in the industry, you might remember when things were slowest for an actor, their agents would be like, well, you should write something for yourself. Because web series were just becoming a thing in Broad City.
You're suffering from Broad City syndrome. Yeah.
Now it's sort of commonplace. People will create their own content and, all that stuff. But at that time, it was more formal. And so we started writing together towards that end for stuff for us to act in. And it was all sketch based and stuff and comedy forward and college humor, that type of thing. And we did live sketch stuff, UCB, all that world. And we kind of, in the early days, started directing our own content by necessity. Like we started writing and did some branded stuff that the budget was so low. They're like, yeah, we'll do this, but like, who's going to make it? And we're like, I guess we will. So we started directing way back then, but then we kind of forgot about it and let it drift to the wayside and focused on writing. And we got some representation and started writing narrative stuff. And our first sort of big narrative thing was a pilot we wrote called Granted that got into New York Television Festival. That's not around anymore, which is sad because we had such a great time there. It was like one of those festivals that was actually great for networking and all the stuff. We met really cool people. It had great resources. But anyway.
So what was the first paid job you got as a team?
BarkBox. Literally, BarkBox was our first ever directing job. The people who were like, we have no budget, but we love what you wrote. Can you just make it? That was our first ever job, was like their online series.
What do you mean
like
they loved what you wrote? Like they loved the stuff you wrote for yourself?
Like they asked, they asked we had like some connection. I think it was my ex knew someone there, and they were looking for like a series about dog people, like a comedy series. And they asked us to write like a few little episodes for YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. And so we did. And then they're like, yeah, can you produce these?
Can you
We're
say
like, sure, we can
number?
figure out how to do that.
Can you say what they get, like the total budget? Maybe is that?
I mean, if I can remember, I think
like
it was
approximately, like just kind of like to give us a ballpark understanding of what we're talking about.
I mean, again, we did it all by ourselves, so like it was.
I think it was like $10,000 for like 10 episodes or something crazy.
Yeah. And you're like, awesome, this is great. I have a camera. Yeah.
That's how the stuff Adam film and stuff was too.
100%. Yeah.
Was that right, Al? Does that sound right? I feel like that was the number, but
I thought it was 20. I thought like, so 10 each, because we split everything.
That's probably why. This happens just a lot, by the way, where someone will mention like the fee for something and we'll like divide it in half, and then we'll remember the
whole
half
thing.
number. The wrong number.
Oh yeah. I'm doing something with a partner right now. And I just got, like, I saw in my bank account, like I got the money paid for it. And I was like, I like called her and I'm like, Julie, did you also get this money, or do I have to split this with you? And she's like, I also got it. I was like,
nice.
Thank God.
That's a good feeling. Of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys don't tell each other when you get money.
No. This is not a healthy relationship. No.
So did you, so then you had directed branded content, right? That's kind of what it was at the time. And did you know, like, did you even have an idea that there's like production companies and commercial reps and all that stuff?
No. We like, we had a lot of, like traction with our writing stuff. So that was mostly where we were focused. And then, Bonnie, she got pregnant at, like right before the pandemic, right, Bonds? Like, and we were kind of like, okay, like what's the next like echelon of our career? Because like we've been writing all this stuff.
Were you selling screenplays and things? Because in your bio, you had a lot of things set up.
The first screenplay we ever sold was this year. So like we were working with like all these companies to do like development, like they would ask us to develop IP, and we would take things around with them to all the studios, and like
you had like reps that would take you to, hey, meet with MGM, they have this book, and read it and pitch on it. And who were your reps?
We're with Artists First. They used to be Principato Young. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Who's your agent?
A3 used to be cool. Abrams, but everyone has to change their name.
Abrams.
Yeah. Exactly. All three of them. We were working with our class on in a writing capacity, like since they started. So they started like in Tribeca back in the day, not that long ago, but a while ago now. And we would work with them as writers, come on to develop ideas, or they also like had this weird project when they first started where we launched a Snapchat channel for online magazine called Elite Daily with them, and wrote all the content, and like it was the whole thing. So that we were working with art class in that way, and so we were familiar with them, and we did some projects, whatever, as writers. And so then, was
filmmaking like your primary source of income at the time?
Writing was,
writing was in various capacities, And
the Snapchat job was when we got a taste of like what this career could be. Like we had like a bonus structure, and we had like income coming in every week for a year, and we were like, holy shit, like we could actually like be okay and like do this.
Lives.
Like,
yeah. And did you
like,
have
I didn't have to
side
bartend
hustles
anymore?
There we go.
Before that, we did.
Yeah.
And we're still acting too.
Yeah, acting as well. And so when that happened, and then Bonnie also got pregnant, we were like, okay, like how do we like make sure that we like kind of keep going?
Because having kids can kind of be distracting.
It's not that distracting.
It's not. Yeah.
Let me tell you.
We were just sort of wanted something to sort of have set some goals as I entered into this new time of life to keep us sort of focus.
And timeline wise, you said this is like right as the pandemic is hitting. Is that right?
Yeah,
no,
I was
before.
pregnant. Yeah, before I was pregnant in 2019.
2019. Gotcha.
And so I had my twins December 2019. So when I first found out I was pregnant and found out I was twins, and I was going through sort of processing all that, we were also deciding like, okay, so we want to start directing. How do we do that? And I think it was also born of like, we did so much development work and so much stuff that was theoretical that we were like, we wanted to make something. And, with writing, you just kind of have to keep waiting for someone to say yes.
And also, developing all of this insight about the way that things get made and how notes are happening, all of that like branded content stuff. Like you don't realize that it's perfect training ground for advertising. Like obviously it's advertising, but like with training wheels in a certain sense, right? Like the budgets are lower, there's less oversight from the client and all that stuff. But you get to do good stuff, but you still see all of the the machinations of what advertising and what like big budgets could end up being for you. Yeah.
Was there ever a point where you were like writing stuff and then seeing it get made and thinking like, oh, we would have made this better?
Yeah. The shot is ruining the joke.
Yeah, I was just thinking that we wrote something right before we started making this pivot, and it was like for art class, and they brought in someone to direct it, and I don't think they understood like what we had written, but it didn't really matter because there was such a short time to shoot it. And I remember us sitting on the side just watching, because the director was nice enough to invite us to set, and we were like, it's kind of so boring. Like it was just, no one was laughing, even though it was like kind of funny, and we were just like, nah, this sucks. Like, I don't know. I think it made us realize that it's not that. I mean, it's hard. Like we've realized now that we've started, we're like, we have a lot of work to do. But some of it's intuitive. If you've been writing and acting, like you kind of can pick up a lot of it. There's a lot there's a huge learning curve, but
yeah, I think we thought, yeah, we can just jump from writing to directing, easy peasy, no problem. And then we had
learn the hard way.
But yeah, I think it's true that like, because I was a child actor, so I've been on set since I was young, and Allison started really young too. So we've been on sets and seeing it through that lens, which has been really helpful now that we're directing. And the writing part of it, those two really helped inform how we direct and what we do now. But yeah, so that's all to say, all this stuff was sort of ruminating, and we decided, okay, so how do we do this? And we're like, well, let's take some of this sweet, Snapchat money and produce 2 shorts. And we kind of tried to orient it where like one of us, we were going to co-direct it, but sort of one of us would be the lead in one and the other one would sort of direct, and vice versa. So we
had no one else to act in them.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we wrote these shorts and we directed them while I was pregnant in 2019, and decided to, just sort of put them into the festival circuit and try to, get into a production company. And Art Class was one that we had the main connection with. And so we were really lucky.
A natural fit. Yeah, that's great. I love the way to kind of develop a relationship kind of sideways a little bit, like to be doing a slightly different job that's still creative, but to build a real rapport with people. And it reminds me of, I feel like I know a handful of directors that kind of came up that way. And it's not a thing that we talk about very much. I think like on the show, it's a lot of like, a viral short or like something that did well at a festival or whatever, or like a great spec, and then, or an indie feature and you're off to the races. But like, we're always looking for ways for people to kind of grow incrementally, like to just take those baby steps. And I love that. Like the idea of writing branded content gives you're in the crow's nest, like you get to see everything that it takes. Yeah.
It's funny because I feel like at least half of our guests kind of became directors that way. like editors, like Kabir Akhtar.
No, that's
right?
true.
Crazy
that's
Ex-Girlfriend.
We just talk about the other version a little bit more, I guess.
I think we fantasize about the Like, I think as a director, you're like, if I make that short and it gets into Sundance and I get the feature
silver
and I do
bullet.
this.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
you're right.
Like you want to be like wanted for your talent. Not just because you happen to know someone, but then like most people don't get to show their talent until they know someone.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of like, well, I guess Oren could do it. Right. Like that's those first
That's how
jobs.
I got my first paid gig was, well, everyone knows my first paid gig was a CPR training video that my aunt gave me. But my second paid gig was, I was just dating someone that had a show and the director dropped out. And I was like, please let me direct it. I made all these YouTube videos. And she's like, okay. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. Helps to sleep with the right people.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, sometimes there's something wrong with that. But
sure.
As history shows.
Editor Noah, feel free to clean this up if you need to, buddy.
I think it's
fine. It's fine. I'm joking.
So now you're a directing duo. You're doing a lot of commercials, and you have like a really strong aesthetic too. Like if you look at the Mindy Kaling stuff, and then all the way like the Martha Stewart stuff, the Ken Jeong stuff you did recently, like obviously you do a lot of comedy, but it's also kind of punchy and in your face and like bright and cool, and it has a feel to it. Like, how did you develop that as a duo? Is it something that you just kind of fell into and it's like you both like it, or was it like a choice you made and then or is it
I feel like we're still developing
or are you
it.
stuck in that, like you did it once and now people only hire you for that thing, which is what happened to me?
No, a lot of our jobs have been kind of like diverse. I mean, we want to get out of the social media, like, making TikToks because we look younger or whatever thing. But like, we're still trying to really hone in on that.
It's really hard, Oren. Yeah. It's a tough cross to bear. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. We want to hone in on it.
I think we're still honing it. I think it definitely wasn't a conscious choice. I think it's what we want to be doing is that stuff. So when we get, because, I think I'm sure, there's some work that you do that isn't like the stuff that you put out there as much because it's...
as our friend Jordan Brady says, shoots you do for the deals and shoots you do for the reels.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. So I think, we've done our fair share of social native content that we are happy to do because we're happy to work and it's fun. And
I think I saw one of your treatments for something.
Yeah.
It was like a very social thing. Yeah. It has nothing to do with art class. It was a treatment designer had showed us, we were like picking treatment designers.
Just betraying trust left and right.
Yeah. And they sent us like 4 other treatments they did. It was, I was doing, it was kind of like a social, like
as an example of like, hey, I'm very good at designing treatments. Here's the proof is in the pudding. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was one of yours. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I think it was like it seemed kind of Snapchatty. I wonder if it was
a lot of GIFs.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I don't know, every treatment now is just chock full of GIFs. But it was awesome. I loved it.
Great stuff.
It was not. I was not up against you or anything.
I'm not. You know what? I'm watching you, buddy.
Yeah,
you should. Yeah. I encourage it.
But I'm not between the crosshairs. Take them out.
Do you usually make enemies on this podcast? Is that?
Yeah. That's the whole point. Is like slowly, one by one, the entire town. It's just like freaking Kaplan.
The goal is like, if I don't want, like by the end of this podcast, I want you, like if you hear that I'm up for something. The goal is for you to be like, just we'll sit this one out. We don't even want to deal with this guy.
Honestly, that might have already happened. Like that might,
Wow.
You don't have to tell me that.
Please,
okay?
Gosh, don't give him the satisfaction, please. The TikTok social of it all. Like I understand, like, I think the grass is always greener, but there's a part of me, and I shared that sentiment for a long time. And like, look, of course, we all want Super Bowl spots or like those big broadcast spots. But I think that the number of those jobs is dwindling, right? There are fewer and fewer of those opportunities. And the social is growing and you get to do some weirder stuff. Mm-hmm. I feel personally like I'm kind of maybe less worried about it as long as the budgets are there. And maybe that's the undercurrent, right? Like maybe that's the real issue is like, who cares what medium, but like if you have the resources to pull something cool off, then it's fine, right?
That's exactly it. I don't think there's any like snobbery from us about, if it's social or vertical frames or all that. It's that like the budgets are smaller, but it's the same amount of work, to prep a shoot and pull off a shoot and, think about it and have it all done. So I think that that's the thing that feels hard sometimes, is that they don't put the same money behind social because they're like, oh, it's just social. But, if you want it to be cool, you want it to be impressive and you care, which we always do. We want it to, yeah. So it's hard when the budget's not there. And that gets frustrating. And that's why, you start coveting the Super Bowl spot or whatever, because you're like, oh, when there's more money, then you can play more and do all the things. But what I was going to say about the social stuff is I think that might have something to do with the punchiness of some of our more traditional spots, is that, we've done a lot of that. So we bring that sensibility in, I think, even without thinking about it sometimes.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I think they're good. They're really good, though, because even like a good 30 broadcast spot nowadays needs to be kind of in your face. And like the worst thing is like a slow paced commercial,
Yeah. I feel like the last big campaign I did, thinking about it, it feels old fashioned in a certain sense. It feels paced down in a way that like it would, I don't know that it would hit on TikTok. I know it wouldn't hit on TikTok, And so like where the media buys, all that stuff is,
Right.
Yeah.
It's
To me,
interesting. Yeah, we sorry. We were talking about like what it will look like when we direct like our first feature or something, and we were saying, this has sort of become who we are as directors. Like like we said, we're still honing in on the visual style, but like what if this medium can sort of influence little things that we bring to a larger scale, and that's like our calling card or whatever, but we're still trying to figure out exactly what that'll look like. But it's fun to get any job, you guys.
Fair. But also like that's the other allure of commercials, is like, oh, you get to try something out, in a short time frame, see if you like it or not, and if not, you can move on, or maybe that becomes your whole thing.
You get to work during strikes.
Sure, you do get to work during strikes. Have you all done anything since doing like a personal project since you started directing commercials?
We directed a friend's short. The main thing that we've done that wasn't a commercial project since we started directing, and that was, I think we kind of had that feeling where we're like, yeah, who's there? And also it was, a friend's short budget. And so it was like, complaining about social budgets. Those are still robust compared to, a personal project.
Sure.
So doing that again and stuff. I mean, we do really small one-off sort of shoots for fun sometimes, but that's.
Yeah, when the twins come, it's like, it would be nice to get paid on a job.
Yeah.
Instead of just paying the babysitter.
Yeah. I'm trying to, we have ideas that we've tossed around. We're like, oh yeah, we got to do that. But I think we should.
No, but we constantly write. Like that's what I was saying, is that this year we sold our first film. Like we've been working on different projects.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
And so are you not set up to direct it?
No, it's, I think hopefully, ideally it'll be a lot bigger budget than, I mean, maybe once it gets made, we'll be at that level. Who knows? But yeah.
But I think you are at that. Like, I mean, your commercial work is good. You worked with very famous people. You've worked with real budgets. Like, you wrote the script. It seems, it's hard maybe at our level to get someone else's script, at a studio level. Yeah. But if it's your,
I mean, we'll throw our hats in the ring, Oren. Like, we're not against it, but
let's do it.
Yeah,
I'll do VFX for you.
Yeah, great.
Thank you. Matt, what are you doing?
Matt will promote it on our podcast. Yeah. Matt's like, it's VFX.
Yeah,
very good.
Not good.
No, I apologize if you've heard this before, but there is like a little bit of like the style of your work that kind of reminds me of like Jocelyn and Dawn. Do you know them? They made Greener Grass.
Oh
yes.
They were college humor people back in the day.
Yeah,
they did like some Adam Ruins Everything, and they did they did some shorts, and they do a lot of commercial work now. And it has kind of that bright, poppy, colorful feel. And for them, it's like super clear to see how their commercial work is affecting their feature work, and their feature work is right. Like there is a consistency of aesthetic across their work, regardless of like the long form versus
the feature
short form
came
stuff.
first in that case, right? Like I think, and it'd be fun to have them back on.
And they were actors too.
Yeah, they were actors too. Yeah,
Yeah.
And old pals. But I think I imagine that Greener Grass was like such a cool movie with such a clear point of view. I always imagine that like a creative director is like a big fan of the movie and then sees that they're pitching and says, oh, wouldn't it be great if they did Greener Grass, but for IKEA or whatever, you know, like.
Yeah, it's a clear calling card.
Yeah.
It's their aesthetic. It's their vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys should have them on the podcast. I want to know what happened.
Yeah, I mean,
they've been on.
Yeah, we haven't had them on since they started doing commercials, though. Like it was when.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. I think they've been doing them for a while.
Yeah, we'll hit them up though. That's actually a great idea.
We actually got our first open directing gig this year, technically. So in January, there's an indie film that was looking for a director, and we sort of pitched on it. It was a last minute thing. They needed someone, and it was all greenlit, and they just were packaging it together. And we're like, put our idea forward. We got it, basically.
And you got it through your manager?
We got that actually through, what was that? How do we know Jesse?
I know him from, well, he's actually someone that Vince introduced me to like 10 years ago when I was acting. Like he's a producer and he had a reading and Vince was like, oh, you need an actress? Allison's one. So yeah, again, Vince.
That's cool.
Vince is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
But yeah, we started prepping it. And that was so fun because after this was pretty recently. So we'd done a lot of commercial work at that point. And that I would say is like kind of the first personal project almost, or, non-commercial project that we were diving into, and having all this experience now. And compared to like when we did those shorts, that was just like kids in a candy shop. Like, wait, we, have some sort of budget, and it was like the right tone for us. It was like a dark comedy and all that stuff. And so that was amazing. And it's, and then the lead actress like fell through, and the money was still there, but she's, we don't have the person who sells it in post. So it ended up not happening, but it still could possibly happen, but it's sort of on hold.
Yeah.
So
we're not banking on it.
Sure.
No.
Sure.
Yeah. Not waiting around, but that feeling was really fun.
I guess I'm curious about just like your brand. Like obviously you go by Bonabart.
Mm-hmm.
Bonabart.
Yeah. Bonabart. Because Bonnie and half Barton, which is Allison's last name.
My last name.
Right.
Barton.
A Barton. And then, obviously you share an Instagram account, which is probably hard. And you're a duo. Like,
Not as hard as you think.
Do you work on like creating like the name and the website? Like, is that something that you feel like helps you get jobs? I think especially like a feature, it's just, I guess I'm just thinking about, like if I was looking for a director and then I was like, oh, there's a duo and they're Bonabart and they have this and that, like that whole thing. And, we've all like seen these, like there's a director named Director X or something. I'm like, who is this asshole?
Right.
I am
but,
jealous
his work is
of
pretty good.
directors who, whether they're a duo or a collective or
a moniker.
Moniker. I am.
Yeah.
Gotta get a moniker,
it's sticky,
guys.
right? It is sticky. Like to be a guy named Matt, you're
at a disadvantage.
Of course,
yeah.
I mean, debatable, but yes, I'm jealous for sure. I'm jealous. Yeah. So talk to us about how conscious is the branding effort? Like, how does that come together?
The branding.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So Bonabart was around for a while. That was sort of from the writing days. We thought it was because we did everything together, and we have a joint email, which is
saving a lot of money on Gmail accounts.
Yeah. Saving money where we can, and it also helps us, write certain emails because we can use that United We, Royal We kind of thing, and United Front. So but it's also just easier. One of us, can field things. But what do you want to say about the branding, Al? I mean,
we have thought about it a lot. Like it is. I mean, Bonnie's husband is in marketing at HBO, so he did like a deck for us. He was like, "Listen, this is how you have to present yourself." It was his idea for us to do jumpsuits. We decided they got to have name tags because no one ever knows who the hell we are on commercial sets.
Wait, do you two hold on? Sorry, forgive me.
You
for
were
not talking about, you were
jumpsuits.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah. Basically, we were directing for
jumpsuits.
Mm-hmm. We were directing for a bit, and
sorry, I'm just laughing at Matt's reaction.
Yeah, I feel embarrassed that I didn't know that. I should have done my homework.
You've never been on set with us, but
is this not a jumpsuit podcast?
Oh, that's not what we signed up for.
Is it?
We
a new jumpsuit every day.
We were makeup.
Oh yeah.
No. People used to. We'd come to set and people would be like, "Oh, are you talent? Are you makeup? Are you like it's sexist?" And we were just like, you know what? No, we're we're here.
Oh, you mean
just because I carry makeup brushes on my tool belt?
Yeah, sure. We had a full
just because I'm like fucking hot.
But you mean before the jumpsuits is what you're saying? People would make that mistake. Yeah.
And so
did you try wearing berets?
Yes, and people were like, "Are you the French resident French person on set?" We're like,
French
"No." Yeah.
No, but they just, you know what? And it's like more manly. Like you don't have to think about what the heck you're going to wear and if your stomach is going to show or like it's too tight on your butt or whatever. Like, honestly, we don't want to think about it. And so
one less decision. But yeah, it was like, my husband is in marketing and he's just like really good at branding. He's really good. He's done it for all of his friends and stuff where he'll come in and be like, yo, this is like, he puts together a deck. He loves it. He does a little presentation and stuff. And this was sort of like things were starting to pick up for us. And he was like, he offered to do it. I'm like, yeah, sure. And he had some really great ideas about, the jumpsuits and our approach. Because he had heard our sort of gripes about how we're perceived on set and stuff. And that was his idea. And he had just sort of.
Did he have an easel that was covered with like some sort of curtain? And then he called you into the room and he pulled it.
Whipped it off with a flourish. He had a metal pointer.
Pretty much.
Said a Bonaparte.
I have real questions about the jumpsuit situation. Is it a different jumpsuit each time? You said you have name tags. Or is it like consistent? Like, oh, we always wear a certain color. Or tell me more. I promised. Let's get granular. Like day one,
we have like 8.
You have 8.
We're up to about 8.
We have like 8, and they're coordinated. Like sometimes they're like complementary colors, but they're always the same brand. And then the patches we get like on Etsy, and they're sewn on. But they look really snazzy. You guys got to see the pic.
Yeah,
and the cool thing
where
about
can our listeners check out these photos?
On our Instagram.
Yeah.
They're definitely on there. If you do a deep dive.
Too. But no, wait. But the cool thing about it is that clients and agency get really excited about it. And it's really sweet. Like they show up in their own jumpsuits with name tags and like they like, or it's a reason to like have a little like group, like for them to feel included because they've worked so hard on this campaign too. So I feel like it's like a fun demonstration of that.
Yeah, it's become really fun. People get excited about it. So we can never stop.
Look, I know we've had this podcast for a long time. You would be surprised how much Oren and I talk about what to wear to set. Like we still kind of don't know what to wear. Yeah,
because you want to look cool.
You want to look cool. Like we're comedy directors, so like it's a little bit different. There's like if I was a music video director, I would need to show up looking cool. Like I get a little bit of a hall pass, but it's still a thing where like I'm anxious and like it's a different deal. But like certainly people are still like, what do you do when you're on set? Especially if I'm not hauling anything. They're like, why aren't you working? So I love this because it's great branding, like you've said, and then it's interesting to bring it into something that other people can participate in. Right? Like that makes it really special and cool. That's awesome. That's really cool, you guys.
And we want everyone to start wearing jumpsuits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to start putting it in my treatments.
Yeah.
You know what?
There's a picture of me with a Mid-Journey, a Photoshop generated jumpsuit.
Give up this competition thing. Just become a trio.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Combine your camera work, your guys' expertise with, whatever we've got going on. Let's go.
Do you guys split a rate, right? Is that when you're a duo?
Yeah.
Do you ever try to ask for more because you're a duo? You're like, you're getting 2 people. Or do you just do twice as many jobs?
We ask.
We do a lot of jobs. Yeah.
That's like part of the WGA strike, right? Like they hire a lot of these teams and they pay them, they get 2 people for the price of 1.
Because you definitely do get a bit more with 2 of us because we can cover more ground in a day. Like, I don't think one person could have done that day with 20 deliverables. Like, I think there was no way. They would have had to split it.
So it's a selling point besides just having 2 brains. It's also 2 bodies, basically. Yeah.
It can be. We prefer to be like on the same set, but that to do that, we had to split up and we were each on separate stages and running like 2 completely different shoots. But we prefer to be side by side.
To me, the duo, like why I always dreamt of having a brother that wanted to direct with me. Like
Oren
being
has
a duo.
Creative brothers,
2 brothers
for the record.
Useless. But it like, because to me, as a director, especially in the commercial world, you're pitching, you're writing treatments, you're doing calls, you're prepping, you're shooting. And then I think the thing, at least for me, that suffers the most is post, because you're like, it's hard to prioritize post over like the next treatment, and pitch. But if there's 2 of you and like, you can be like, hey, you look over the edit and you work on this treatment, and hey, I've not noted some things down here. I'm throwing it over to you. I got to go to this wedding or whatever. Can you finish it? Yeah. But like when you're one person, it's like, hey, I'm on a family vacation, but sure, I'll get on this call and pitch this thing. And okay, family, go enjoy the movie. I'm going to try to write this treatment because it's due tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
But just having that support of splitting the work just seems like a dream.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, do you feel like there's that you 2 are doing less work than the work of one director? Like, it's not like a 50-50 split. I imagine it's
I think
like probably 80% of what one director would do for each of you, right?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, I think the fun part is that I hate this word, but I use it now, ideating portion of this process is great, because there's 2 of us and it's sort of like a mini writer's room or something where we can kind of bounce ideas off of each other, and we have that part in the forming of the idea and the creative process. And then yeah, we can divvy stuff up and tag team it, and that, but I don't think it's 50-50. I think it's probably like something like 80, because it's still,
you still have to you're both on the same calls though, right? It's not like you can be like, hey, I'm out of here, can you cover for me? Like, that doesn't happen very frequently, I imagine.
And like, if one of us is gonna say, oh, I'll write this, the other person still has to look over it and then kind of do a pass, which takes a long time anyways. So even if you're doing half of it, you're still going to redo it. Yeah, but definitely it's a lighter load than one director, like especially when it comes to personal things. Like, we're able to have lives and stuff, and then also keep the work flowing.
There have been occasional shoots where, we'll prep everything together and one of us will be on set and the other one isn't. Like, sometimes that does happen for whatever reason. And so that's been hard, is to like just trust myself, or, just be like, okay, there's no one there to sign off on this. And wait for those game time decisions and stuff if it does pop up. And so,
it's a lot more fun. It's more fun. Like, directing can be very lonely. Yeah, it's like,
we started a podcast because of it.
Right.
Truly, though, honestly.
It drove you to podcasting.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the podcast, and thanks for talking to us. And I'm really excited to be on the roster with you. I like art class, and I think it's fun to meet the other directors that you're working with. And obviously, Matt and I have this podcast, so it's cool that we get to talk to other filmmakers and find out what their insecurities are, so we can take advantage of it when we're
Yeah, I was going to say maybe we could bury the hatchet now, but no, I guess not.
No.
Yeah, salt in the wound. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Before we hop into unpaid endorsements, how can people keep track of all of the awesome projects that you're making? Instagram, it sounds like.
To Bonabart, so Bonabart, the number 4 and the letter U. So to Bonabart for you,
Was
cool.
did that come from your husband, Bonnie? Or
No, that was all us. That was
he was like, I got followed by this account. Is this you? I can make you a deck.
Bonabart.
Yeah.
Let me step in.
That's what inspired him to make a deck. He's like, you two need help.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you two have a minute longer to endorse with us?
Yeah.
Of course.
Unpaid endorsements.
There's this website, 11labs.io. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's green screen AI. It's AI.
It's AI. It's like a voice generator. Like you need a narrator.
Yeah.
You just
type. If you need Morgan Freeman for your TikTok, you would go to 11 Labs.
And you do need Morgan Freeman for your TikTok.
Yeah.
It generates like people's voices, it's like a deep fake for voice.
No, mostly dog voices. Yes, people's voices.
No, but
like
her question is like celebrities'
person?
Voices versus a soundbite.
I think it does like a lot, but like if you want to just test it out, you can just go to 11labs.io, and if you're doing like a pitch or something and you just need like a man's voice, you can do different languages too. So I don't think I would use it like for production, but when I pitch, I like to make a lot of materials and videos and concepts and things like that, and so I would use it for something like that. And I'm also just on that. I'm going to like triple down on Adobe Podcast, which is, I don't know if you guys have ever used it, but it's like you just go to, I think it's podcast.adobe.com. You upload any audio file and it will remove all the background noise. So if you just have really bad audio, like you recorded something and there's like music in the background, it will like literally take the music out and it sounds amazing. You can record like on your phone, like from 20 feet away next to a lawnmower, and it will give you back just your voice and it sounds good. It's like magic. I know everyone hates Twitter. I hate Twitter too, but there is this pretty good tweet that I read from this guy named Chris Blattman. He's at cblatts, Blatts. And I'll just read the first part of it, which he says, I just hired a 21-year-old for their first job. What basic professional advice do they need? Here's what I tell all my new staff, but perhaps you can add, I'll start small. And he just talks about like how to be professional, like a list. And like his number one thing is use an online calendar, have a foolproof system of reminders so you never forget a deadline or obligation. Organize your contacts. You just kind of like the things that I think, are kind of obvious, but he'll have little things about how to email professionally, and I don't know. Sometimes I like, from this podcast, I love just like to improve those little things that we do every day. Like
soft skills, they call them, right?
Yeah. Like how to just, because that's my biggest thing. It's like I keep being late to meetings and I'm like not sure how to ask for something in an email or how to address something. And so anyway, Chris Blattman, it's his tweet about professional advice. I liked it at cblatts, Blatts on Twitter. So that's what I got right now.
Okay, I'll go. First of all, matcha. Matcha is my drink.
Matcha tea or matcha? Matcha is a tea, right? Or it's
matcha it's a green tea, but I like to make it in lattes. Mostly I like to buy it. Bonnie and I love Cha-Cha matcha, which is they have a draft matcha latte with coconut milk that is like that's what you should try first if you've never had matcha.
Can you tell us how much that drink costs? What it retails
it's like in the $7 range, which is way too much. But like if you're having a bad day, it will make it better, guaranteed. The other thing I saw or heard today on Happier in Hollywood podcast was it was an old episode and it was be a boulder pusher, which I kind of liked that idea of when someone's pitching an idea, you can be a boulder pusher. Like, Bonnie and I always try to do that, like yes and each other's ideas instead of sitting on top of the boulder and being like, well, no, that won't work because of X.
So this is BOULDER, right?
Yeah.
Not bold, like have bold ideas.
But I guess it could be both.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, there you go. No, like the big rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
The big rock.
Like be a
what
Sisyphus.
I don't think I'm familiar with this podcast. You said Happier in Hollywood? I don't think I know the show.
Yeah, it's like script notes, except it's two women who Liz Carey, I forget their names.
It's not the screenwriting life.
No. It's under the Gretchen Rubin Happiness Labs umbrella. So they're talking about like being showrunners and screenwriters, and basically also what brings them joy within that industry, like having a healthy life.
I was really trying to think of I asked my husband, like, am I excited about anything that I've talked about? And I think there's probably two. So for the screenplay pitch that we sold to Amazon, we're not writing it obviously because of the WGA strike, but doing some background research and reading a book about sexual health, because it's a very raunchy rom-com. And it's called Come As You Are. And it's very good and interesting. If you're just curious about that stuff.
How do you spell?
COME.
Okay.
But it is a double entendre. So that's a really interesting book, and it's, probably useful for anyone to read. Mostly it's about women's sexual health, but it's a very interesting read. She breaks it down, very conversational. It's a good book. And he's like, that's the only thing you're talking about lately. But the other exciting thing, because I have twin boys, is an institution called Catch Air, which is an indoor playground that is a national chain. And you can bring your kids, and when it's hot as hell out, and they
is it like a trampoline park?
It's not a trampoline park, which are great.
Is it an
also
oxygen bar?
It's an oxygen bar for toddlers. No, it's just like bouncy. It's not even bouncy house. It's like just like these tall, soft play structures, and it's not new, but they're great, and I'm excited about them. I don't know if there's any in LA, but I'm sure there's something like it.
Well, my unpaid endorsement is, we're recording this on Monday, July 31st, the day that Pee Wee Herman passed away. Which
Paul Rubens.
Yeah, it's a huge, huge loss. But Max, formerly HBO Max and HBO Go before that, I guess. Anyway, they were like in memoriam, like showing some old Pee Wee stuff, and I was like, oh, I'll check this out for a second. That I thought I'd watch it with my daughter, and it turns out that it was the Pee Wee Herman show, not Pee Wee's Playhouse, which is like the original stage show. There's a live audience, it's for adults, and was really kind of cool to watch. It's all the same DNA, like the art direction is there, the
talking chairs and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's not that far off, but it is kind of a wild thing to see a slightly younger Paul Rubens doing an uncut live stage show. Like there's multiple cameras and things, but like literally you can see him sweating. He's like wearing the suit. He's like running around. He's like feeding off the energy of the crowd. And it's wild to just see how this kind of, Groundlings character became a stage show and then became a kid's show, and how the DNA is shared. Like it's all the same thing, but there are distinct shifts, but they're smaller than you would expect to go from something adult into something for kids. And I don't know, it was just kind of a unique way to look back on a career and a character, and it was pretty wild.
Did your daughter like it?
She liked it. She's 1.5. She's like, there's flashing colors and stuff. Yeah.
She likes screens,
Yeah. She's like,
she licked the TV twice.
Yeah, exactly. This was great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Do you have other social media you want to plug?
To Bonabart for you.
Don't forget the at the beginning.
At to Bonabart for you is the main channel for everything. Awesome. Great.
Right.
We're just like on Instagram. It's Instagram.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's the way to go. Well, you can follow me across all social media at Mr. Matt Enlow, and you can follow the show at Just Shoot It Pod across most things. You can email us at justshootitpod@gmail.com if you have longer form questions, or if you don't want to hit Oren or I up separately.
We got to get a Threads account. I'm at OKaplan on Threads and Instagram. And this show is edited by Noah Bayshore. Our producer is Tyler Small. You're listening to music from the Free Music Archive and the artist Jazar, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.